We've all been there, lying awake at night, replaying a conversation from earlier in the day, wondering if we said something wrong, or worrying about the outcome of a particular situation by trying to obsess over every little detail, or spinning in circles about a decision, big or small, and feeling like no choice is the right one. Welcome to the mind's favorite pastime, overthinking. But here's the twist: overthinking isn't a flaw, stress isn't a weakness. These reactions are rooted in something far deeper, something ancient, biological, and in many cases, protective. Stress and overthinking are not a new phenomena. In fact, they're evolutionary adaptation. Think about our ancestors. They weren't worried about unread text messages or job promotions. They were worried about actual survival, predators, disease, finding shelter, or their next meal. The brain evolved to prioritize threats. And the key player in that system? The amygdala, a small almond-shaped cluster deep in the brain responsible for detecting danger and triggering a flight or flight response. The amygdala doesn't wait for you to finish thinking. It reacts fast, instantly. You hear a loud noise in the dark? Your body tenses. Heart spikes? That's the amygdala sounding the alarm. Across human evolution, this rapid reaction system kept us alive. But here's the problem: modern life is safer, physically. But the brain still reacts to social threats and uncertainty with the same primal intensity. Your boss's tone in a meeting, your brain might process that as danger. Not getting invited to an event, that feels like social exclusion, which, evolutionarily speaking, used to mean abandonment and death. So what does the brain do? It overthinks. It analyzes every detail, trying to protect you from future harm. The default mode network is the part of the brain that activates when you're not focused on the outside world, like when you're daydreaming, reflecting, or, you guessed it, overthinking. Studies using fMRI scans have shown that people with high anxiety or depressive tendencies have hyperactive default mode networks. Their brains are stuck in loops, replaying the past, fearing the future. But why? Because their brain is trying to predict pain and avoid it. But here's the irony: the more we overthink, the more stress we feel. And the chronic stress? It shrinks the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for rational thinking and decision making. While strengthening the amygdala's grip, you become a prisoner of your own thoughts. Overthinking thrives on fear, especially fear of the unknown. Whether it's starting a new relationship, speaking in public, or trying something unfamiliar, your brain isn't just imagining what might go wrong, it's preparing your body as if the threat is real. Here's the wild part: research shows your brain reacts to imagined fears the same way it reacts to actual danger. The same stress hormone, cortisol and adrenaline, get released, whether you're about to be chased by a bear or simply giving a presentation. And over time, this repeated stress hormone can weaken your memory, shrink parts of your brain involved in decision making, and even make you more sensitive to future stress. So every time you overthink a moment and avoid it, you're not just missing out, you're literally training your brain to fear more. Let's pause for the real world example. In 1971, researchers conducted the famous Stanford prison experiment. Volunteers were assigned roles as guards and prisoners in a simulated prison. But within days, the guards became abusive. Why? Because when humans were given control, or they believed that they were given control, they were obsessed with protecting it. Overthinking often stems from the illusion of control. If I analyze the situation a bit more, maybe I'll prevent the pain. If I plan for every outcome, maybe I'll win. If I think about something hard enough, or our subconscious tends to believe it will alter the outcome, including in situations where we have no ultimate control. It's like walking out of a job interview and immediately replaying every second in your head. Did I talk too much? Was that joke awkward? Should I have said something smarter in the end? You go over every word, every pause, like you can somehow reiterate the whole conversation in hindsight. But here's the truth: once the interview ends, the outcomes are no longer in your control. Overthinking won't change what you said, how you felt, or who else is in the running. But your brain keeps looping because it tricks you into believing that thinking about it will somehow steer the result. It won't. It just steals your peace. But life doesn't work like that. Desire to control the uncontrollable is the fuel of overthinking. You can't control how people interpret your words. You can't control the outcome of a decision, and no amount of thinking will make life risk-free. Add social media to the mix, and your brain is now exposed to thousands of micro comparisons a day. Psychologists call this a social evaluative threat, the fear of being judged, criticized, or seen less than. It's one of the most potent triggers of stress response. Let's say you post a picture, it doesn't get the usual number of likes. Your brain, especially if already prone to overthinking, might interpret that as rejection or failure. Or someone you know gets a new job, buys a house, or gets engaged. Suddenly, your brain spirals. Am I behind? Did I make the wrong choices? Again, not weakness, just biology reacting to perceived threats. But in this case, the threat aren't lions, they're lifestyles. Now, there's a difference between reflection and rumination. Reflection is healthy, it helps us learn from our experiences. Rumination is the mental hamster wheel. Same thoughts, same fears, no solution. Let's borrow a metaphor from nature. When a gazelle escapes a lion, it shakes its body to discharge the stress. Then it moves on. Humans, we rehearse the chase in our minds for days, months, or even years. That's rumination. And it leads to higher levels of cortisol, the stress hormone, which is linked to everything from insomnia to weakened immunity to memory loss. At a deeper level, overthinking feels productive because, at its core, your brain's attempt to regain control in an uncertain situation. The brain craves predictability, and when you're facing something unknown, like an interview, a new relationship, or a big decision, overthinking gives the illusion that you're doing something about it. And here's the kicker. When you think you've figured something out, even if it's just a mental scenario or an imaginary outcome, your brain gives you a small dopamine hit. That's the same reward chemical released when you eat sugar, scroll social media, or win a game. So overthinking becomes a self-soothing strategy, not because it helps you, but because it gives you tiny bursts of control, reward, and relief. But long term, it backfires. Because while dopamine rewards you for trying to take control of the outcome, cortisol, which is your stress hormone, keeps rising, especially when reality doesn't go your way, the way your mind rehearsed. That's why overthinking can feel addictive, but exhausting. So what can you do about it? First, recognize that stress and overthinking are signs that your brain is actually trying to protect you, but not everything needs protecting. Second, learn to label your thoughts. Cognitive behavior therapy teaches a simple practice. Name the thought, don't become it. Instead of, I'm a failure, reframe it as, I'm having a thought that I may fail. That small shift creates space, and space is the enemy of overthinking. Third, use your body. Your brain and your body are in constant conversation. Deep breathing, exercise, even standing up and stretching can interrupt the stress cycle. Lastly, and this might sound strange, talk to yourself out loud. Studies have shown that self-talk, especially using your own name, increases self-regulation. Instead of, I can't do this, say, I can do this. It sounds weird, but it activates the part of your brain associated with logic and reasoning. If you overthink, if you stress easy, if you lie awake wondering about every possible future, you're not broken. You're just human. You are weird for survival. But just because your brain is trying to protect you doesn't mean you have to obey every thought. Controlling your mind is hard, but letting your mind control you or your world is a lot harder. And oftentimes, overthinking involves you thinking about the worst outcome and struggling with the creation or lack thereof of any solutions. Don't do that. Your goal isn't to stop thinking, it's to think better, more clearly, and more kindly. Stress and overthinking are signals, not stop signs. Certainly nothing more. Just signals. Learn to read them, not to run away from them. And you reclaim the power to live, decide, and be. And that's a power no thought can take away.